Okay to go? Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm the chair of the City of San Diego Commission for Agriculture. We're going to do a quick roll call to confirm commissioner attendance this morning. When I call your name, please respond with present. Commissioner Tyler Hughes. Present. Commissioner Keith Ofsted. Present. Commissioner Fritz Friedman is not with us today. Thank you so much. Your attendance has been noted. Also joining us today are city staff, including our executive director, Jonathan Bluss. Thank you for being here. Our chief of civic strategies, Kristen Jones. Thank you for being here. Public art manager Chuck Miller and our project manager Bill Reza. Thank you to all of you. All right, we're now going to move on to non-agenda public comment. Public was invited to submit public comment on agenda and non-agenda items via a web form accessible through the agenda and the commission's website. Members of the public can also join this meeting in person and as webinar attendees. If members of the public have submitted comments in writing via the web form, staff will read aloud public comments submitted per city public comment protocol. I will now call on Bell to please read aloud any non-agenda public comment protocol and any attendees who would like to provide such comment.
Thank you, Chair Bosler. Nothing was submitted in writing and there are no members of the public in attendance.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. We'll now move on to our first action item. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from the March 9th, 2023 meeting. Would anyone like to please make a motion to approve the minutes as they are? Yes, Mr. Olmsted.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the Thursday, March 9th, 2023 meeting.
Thank you so much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. We now have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, before we vote, Bell, please read aloud any public comment for this item that was submitted in writing or call on any attendees who would like to provide a comment for this item.
There is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll take a vote. I'll call your name, and if you would, please respond out loud with yea, nay, or abstain. Please remember you do not need to have been present to vote or to discuss. Commissioner Tyler Hughes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Keith Ofsted.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fritz Friedman is not with us, and my vote is yea. Okay, now do a quick update from all of our committee chairs. First up will be policy and funding. Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. We have a very busy meeting coming up after this, where we are going to be going through the FY24 OSP and FY24 CCSD. It will be presenting on those, and so we've got a lot ahead of us. There's a lot coming down the pike as well, with the cultural plan. But for the moment, that's everything.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's see, Public Art Committee. My understanding was that we did not have a meeting today. Commissioner Ofsted, did you have other comments?
The only other item of business is the possible replacement of Anthony Graham on the Public Art Committee, since he has been relocated up to Northern California. So that's the only thing we're working on.
Okay, and my understanding is that will be addressed at the next full commission meeting to replace that seat. Okay, terrific. Anything else? Okay, advocacy and outreach, back to you, Commissioner Hughes.
Right now, we're sitting fallow as we wait for the May revise of the budget, and then we'll be ready to jump on anything that's necessary. I was wondering, Jonathan, and I just don't know if you confirmed this, is the mayor going to be attending the April commission meeting? Making an appearance?
When we were scheduled for the 28th, on that, we had the app, but
Cool. Okay. So that is where we stand here.
Thank you. And for the record, would you please spell fallow?
FALLOW.
Okay, thank you for that. And regarding commissioner engagement, I know that Commissioner Friedman is not here. Does anybody have an update on anything engagement related? Okay. Val, any public comment for this item that was submitted in writing, or any attendees who would like to provide comment?
No public comment.
Okay. All right, let's see. Now on to the May 1st commission agenda. Hope everybody has had an opportunity to review this agenda for the commission meeting. Thank you everyone for accommodating the date change from April 28th to May 1st. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda as it is?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ofsted. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, let's complete. Before we vote, Bill, any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay. So now we're gonna vote. I'll call your name. Please respond with yea, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Tyler Hughes.
Yay.
Commissioner Keith Ofsted.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz Friedman is not here. My vote is yay. All right, moving right along. Now we're going to turn it over to Executive Director Jonathan Plus. So please share staff report.
Thank you, Chair Bosler. So, I'm on my phone only because I'm, finding out, exactly when, I can announce some details of the FY 24, proposed mayor's proposed budget, which was being announced live at 9 o'clock. I believe I just got a smile face. I can actually announce it. I'll get right into that. So the chief operating officer, as you know, submits a proposed budget to the mayor in March. The mayor considers all of these requests that have been submitted by various departments. I'm sorry, I'm going to park that and say this differently. As you know, all departments submit requests. It's the job of the chief operating officer is to distill them into something that, from an operational perspective, makes sense. Mr. Dargan was clear that there was not nearly the budget for all of the requests this year, as usual. However, there were no cuts at all, and recommendations are based on the city's priorities as of last January, which, as you know, are access to housing at all levels, including homeless services. The big emphasis on wraparound services, climate action, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and infrastructure. With that said, our budget, as of today, includes the final $100,000 for the cultural plan, which was anticipated. We requested $75,000 in funds for conservation this year. That was approved. $250,000 to launch our impact grant category. That was approved. And then the mayor added $1 million towards the arts. I'm using that general term because that's how they put it in the budget book. It's called arts programs. I need clarity about whether it's referring specifically to the OSD and CCSD category, which is traditionally what they're focused on, or if we have more flexibility.
Sounds like you could use that for staff.
We were not successful in our request for 2 staffing positions. Is there anything else that was not requested or was not accepted? It was just 2 staffing positions. So, good news. I will say, I'm particularly happy that, the chief operating officer moved forward in impact grant category.
And the 1 million takes us back to 15 million for OSP and CPSD, is that right?
If we would use that
Okay,
in the way that I'm assuming it is attended, which is OSP and CCSD,
okay.
then we got back to pre-pandemic last year, so that would be $1 million more. Make sense?
Now, so we're at 14 or 15 without.
14.
Okay.
That's the most ever, right?
Yes.
No?
It is.
Yeah, that would be the most ever, because last year we got back to pre-pandemic.
And tree was about 12.
Well, we're talking about two different numbers, and I can be very clear at the full commission meeting. In fact, what I can do is I can send to this group, after I get clarification on what they mean by the $1 million for arts programming. I can send it directly to this group. So for this year, we're at 14.8. The grant program is 11, more or less. 11.4. Okay. It gets a little more complicated than that. More in there goes to city council offices for their grants program. The mayor has his funding for arts program as well. But just in general, think of it as 11 A's. So this would get it as 12 A's. So yes, that would be the most that we would ever have, which is good news. We also have more applicants than we've ever had. Have larger aggregate budgets, which still matters because of our distribution system. I also noted to Ann a few days ago that we have some pretty substantial increases in cost in the last year. So we haven't run the numbers to actually see how much in real money that is if we take inflation. But still, yeah.
You have a downer, but 1 million on 11.8 is about 8% rise, and inflation is close to that. So we're
So actually,
I mean, we're getting closer.
Yeah.
But on year-over-year inflation, we're still losing ground.
So is the main meeting where as commissioners, there's a presentation and commissioners weigh in on the facility as you know, that we want to recommend that this school or share kind of why.
yes,
Okay.
May 1. And then any of that can be back very quickly to the mayor's office for final decisions.
Happy to do that.
Now it's real data, right? It's down to
Any other questions or comments on that?
Just if you can give us a sense of what the reluctance was on the staffing.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're willing to throw $1 million more into programmatic efforts, wonderful. But what's it going to take to get the staffing to the level that is needed, and frankly, this team deserves that kind of support.
Well, we get the staff back that we're not.
Yeah. Yeah, the pre-pandemic.
So 2 requested, but none were.
And it would take 2 to get us back where we were, right? Or would it take 1 to get us back where we were?
Within a larger context of the city personnel, there's a lot of emergency down. The library, I learned yesterday, this is been on at 5 or 28% staff reduction. Many of those positions are funded, but they can't find staff. They're not. There's plenty of other departments that actually just are so terribly short staffed in parts of the department. So in the larger context of the city, this staff shortfall is not, of course, I've made the argument, you're talking about the size of staff. Every summer is so different. But from this chief operating officer perspective,
It's being down to a fairly small department. It's a huge amount. It's huge.
Especially in light of all of the additional work, right? Nothing fell away under responsibilities that have been had, right?
Absolutely. If you're gonna add impact, that's great. Love that impact's gonna be there. There's going to be an empty desk. The tiny Tim used to sit, and that is where the money needs to be sent out from. So it's, I'm all for funding. I'm all for money going out to the public, but, or to our grantees. But if there's not someone there who can do the hard work, then it falls to this team, then this team gets burned out, and this team's amazing, and we want to be able to retain them.
Once John was able to get clarification for that extra $1 without the answer things being one of the many tasks we're wearing, especially with policy and funding right now. You know, one of the arguments is, you know, with this $1 million, it aren't necessarily restricted with just dedicating to OSP and CCFD. In the past, where they had the arts education enrichment initiative, this could be something also as we reduce our barriers support our local working artists. If $1 million, we could do this. Well, next year, if we have 2 million and 4 staffers, what we were doing, what we could do is then really prove that and already want that extra money is really going towards us benefiting our local community. Yeah. It's a little reverse engineering.
Yeah, that's a very good reframe.
Thank you for bringing that up, because we have had a conversation, Christine and I, in particular, talk routinely about what we can reasonably manage in our requests. And, for example, we would have liked to have asked you for artist category, which I know is important to you. There's just no way that we can conceptualize 2 programs existing and transitioning to new software. So to your point, it slows our capacity to pivot considerably.
But as we're working on a cultural plan, in the future, maybe not now, but down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So one last question about that. Did the chief operating officer get back to you on signing authority? And just in terms of, okay, we didn't get the staffing yet, but some changes happening to at least streamline processes and make some things less bogus.
I've been working on that with our new deputy chief operating officer, Casey Smith. We are, all I can tell you right now, we're looking to this. He's very willing to advocate. And there are areas. Our deadline, our soft deadline is in the May. That's when we are creating that those important contracts. So we have a last 6 weeks.
What do you need for it to be a yes? Who has to? Yeah.
Chief operating officer and possibly the mayor, but and operational.
You've been on conversations with that, COO.
COO Eric Dargan. I haven't talked to Eric directly about this. I've been working closely with Casey. I certainly can, when it's appropriate. I think, we've been under this new branch that Casey is the CEO for maybe 5 weeks now. And so this is the project Casey is working on with me right now for our department.
Would it be appropriate for me to talk to Eric about it?
Of course, it's always, I think for, commissions, it's all, first off, it should always be the mayor's office. It's never inappropriate for you to call Eric. Especially as chair, you're a volunteer.
We're supposed to make recommendations, right?
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions on that? Okay, great. Then the only other thing that I want to report on is, excuse me, cultural planning work is really moving forward expeditiously. You'll see a full presentation on the first. Our internal team, Belle, Christine, and I have been working on details for the June and July events. We're not really prepared to give you a full presentation right now, but I can say that working very hard to make sure that this does not just have the being accessible. It really is. So, for example, we are working with Jacobs Center to host 1 week of industry-specific activities. Jacobs Center. We are launching a co-place for the Heights Town Hall there, which I'm very excited about. And then we do not have the second site determined yet. We're talking like civic year. Literally just taking the hallways, having all the breakouts there, which I think would be really fun. Brings it back to one site being a traditional arts venue, and other two being less so. And then the other thing that I think is interesting for you all to hear is we've reached out to a lot of community partners to ask them to co-host. So Matt DeRigo has been asked to host a development session along with Steve Smith. They both work in the creative development space. We've asked the Tourism Authority to do 2 sessions. We've asked the Burnham Center to convene all the chambers of commerce. So we're in part to really dig into relationships, but also in part to produce staff. The necessity for staff to actually have to build out. The big thing is the invitation list. These guys are the ones who actually really work in that space. You know what I'm talking about? We haven't asked to Russ Berwin to the session. Frank Oliphant, the president of Arts Foundation, has agreed to be in our arts. All the foundations that support the arts. And then we have asked into another foundation to be that foundation. So there's just an example of
I
how.
mean, the don't support the artists yet.
They're prim pillows.
Exactly. So those are just examples of how we are working through this. I'm really really excited. And of course, every city council member will be hosting a session. So we're digging into all of the details of how their communities like to be. You'll have children's activities in those districts, the council members requested. Some larger arts activities. So anyway, I think it's going to be very exciting. Any questions on cultural plan?
I was just wondering, in terms of those events, if there's any way to align them with the two, the Black Arts District and the Convoy Arts District, the two ones that have been funded by the state level, but at least we can draw more attention to those as part of this process.
Yeah, I love that question. So, Councilmember Lee, obviously is very invested in the Concord district. Bill, do you know if his community meeting is going to be in the Concord district?
We don't have finalized location.
We don't have that on my yet. Okay, and then in southeast, there are literally the states, all decide that we want to have. But we are working kind of closely with the Carolyn Williams, who's the director, consultant director. I do want to put you on the spot and then ask you to give this further what we're going to be able to deliver to before we get to that, and also software. Software update with the funding program and the conversation on where we are in the contract. World Design Capital signing ceremony, Friday the 28th of May at Market. Will all be invited at 5 in the morning. So please put that on the calendars.
May 28th, correct?
It's the Friday before that. I'd like to.
So it'd be May 26th, is the Friday before.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And
Yeah, you're right.
something it said 9 AM, so is it, are you sure it's 10 AM or is that maybe plus? Maybe?
It's in a bit of a flux. We've had to do some shifts because of travel.
Okay,
As of this last week, it was 10 o'clock.
okay.
Might not be able to, yeah, there's graduation from her master's program.
Oh.
Congratulations. And that afternoon is a commission. Correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, just double check.
Oh, that's good. Great. Great fun day.
Yeah, it's that too long. I've got this lab. So we away all that. But I have.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's very good.
Yeah.
That's what I said for a while. So
Okay, so I'll quickly turn it over to Christine, software and update on where we are with the contract.
Okay, so, well, probably you're aware that we are onboarding new software and I would just add that it's more of a whole grant management system. So, it is a lot of work is going into it in terms of thinking about how we can best utilize it and tap all the functionality as much as possible to create a platform that accelerates, creates more efficiencies, brings all together a lot of manual type of things that are happening. So, for example, we have an application system now, but we have other tracking devices outside of that, and we have just ad hoc emails, so all of that will be in one system, which will kind of facilitate all major stages of the funding cycle from, receive applications through payment. So it's actually going to talk to our internal financial system to be able to administer issue payments and kind of our vendor records, if you will, internally. So we're anticipating having it come online for FY25 cycle, for OSP and CCSD. And so, obviously you guys know that's late September. So we're in the process of onboarding. We'll be starting to think about how we're going to communicate and create any types of support and kind of trainings for applicants and organizations as we might take over. So it's a pretty involved process, and we certainly keep you as we continue to operate.
So like 4.5 months from now.
Yeah, I guess so. Cross my fingers.
Yeah, that's our
It's been at this point. And then as far as our district goes, we have been in communication with the group, and we're going to be going to them to provide some updates to them. One of the things that we're going to deliver by the end of the school year is to release our next Here Comes the Neighborhood call for artists. So as you might remember, that is focused on the Canton neighborhoods. So we're being even more specific. So that will be kind of tailored toward the Black Arts and Culture District. So we're very excited about that. So that's one thing that we're really working on. And then in addition to that, we are working on restoration of a project that was initially implemented, I feel like decades ago at this point, where there's kind of Southeast, when there was a redevelopment agency in Southeast, they had commissioned many others who LA artists who was from that neighborhood to create artworks that then were created images on banners, just in that Black Arts and Culture District area. And they have gone into kind of disrepair, they're approaching need, and so we're working on an effort to restore those by the end of June to refresh them and just acknowledge that the Black Arts and Culture District is there and that things are.
Is that what part of the budget is going for?
Well,
Restoration?
no, actually, we have funds in our budget to facilitate this year. So the funds in that, what Jonathan mentioned, will be for next year.
The software for it is being used by other departments.
At this point, we're the guinea pigs, we're the first. We have had, I've actually recently met with some other departments who were interested and are kind of waiting to see how our process goes, as to whether they want to facilitate that with us.
Questions? Actually, to follow up on what your offset is asking. Has there been any conversation with, once our guinea pig NIS is over and we've worked out the bugs, any conversation with our friends up at the county level to use the same software, because that would make it like a lot easier for applicants who are in both Venn diagrams.
Share that with the arts office up there. Let them know that that's something we've done.
My understanding is that as of right now, that will not be managed and without change. Christine, and then FY23.
Oh, well, I think we're up to date with payments, assuming they have a fully executed agreement. Most, I think that Gabrielle has the data points, but generally speaking, all organizations, which is the majority of them at this point that have a fully executed agreement, have received 85% of their awards at this point. There's a few still in the queue that are still going through the contracting process, but we're just down to small numbers at this point. So that's good news. And it's the first time when organizations have gotten advances. I mean, recognizing it is later than we want, but still in advance, they have demonstrated invoices or documentation to us at this point.
So what Gabrielle had said is that they have there's 182 organizations overall, and that 134 have received their first payment. And that there are 17 payments in progress.
Right, so we're down to just a few organizations that are still kind of being supported in terms of trying to keep the deliverables.
And then when do they have to notice, like, what's the flow for that second payment?
The second payment, that's a good question. So the second payment actually is connected to the final report, like previous years. So, once they submit the final report, after the grant activity period is over, so the end of June, typically in July, they'll submit a final report. They will submit at that time the documentation, demonstrating how they've expended the funds. And then at that point, after, staff is, valuing that, make sure that's the more receipt the final payment of what I think is 15%.
And the city's budget ends June 30th, is that right? So,
We have a window to close out the contract.
Yeah, we already with finance.
So,
and confident that it can all be sent in.
It's like that every year. That's nothing new. We've been doing that for decades.
Okay, and so the second payment, the timing is much different than the first.
and it's all handled internally, doesn't touch any of the departments.
Okay, all handled by you guys.
Yeah, at that point, it's just a process of payment, so it would just involve that.
Okay,
July's arguably the busiest month for San Diego. It was, right, over the line on, so that's good.
And that is very standard. And we usually don't have, there is generally 1, 2, maybe 3 stragglers. But other than that, it's just routine things. They're closing out their books also. So that payment is never that big a deal. It's just these first payments, of getting the contract through purchasing, it's much more involved.
so those numbers look like 31 are kind of question marks, and if I remember in the spreadsheets, there were maybe around 10 to 15, maybe tops, that it was kind of waiting for the organization to be updated. And so my question would be, and maybe this can be sent, is what's going on with those other 15? Why are they just kind of languishing? I don't know exactly what that right number is, but that would be a question mark.
Firstly, this is not at all uncommon. They tend to be, when I say it's not at all uncommon, every year there is a number of organizations, at least 15, that are just incredibly slow. It's a very large organization. It usually has to do with change of staff.
But that's not the part I'm curious.
Oh, okay.
That part, we need to talk through, and that unfortunately makes sense, and hopefully you're getting whatever technical support or when the chase people give them money, but I get it, right? But that other 15 or whatever the right number is, that it's not kind of on them that they haven't done something. Where are those? What's the explanation for why those folks haven't been?
But we'd have to get really specific.
Yeah, I think it might be that their contracts process still. It could be that they're new vendors, that there's a bit of time to onboard them as a new vendor in the city system.
Right.
So there's a couple of variables there.
And I would be curious to know what,
Sure.
if Gabrielle could dig in a little bit more into those, whatever that defined number is. What is it?
At that level, we know, not just anecdotally, we know for sure what the problem is. It may be a certificate from the state that has slowed it. I mean, there at this point, there's gonna be real concrete reasons why they're held up.
Yeah, and then to that point, there are a couple quite a few that are in that pool right now that they've been waiting, the organization's been waiting to submit because their Department of Justice shared registration was expired or active. So we are working with those organizations that have gone, processing them and working through that.
Because that's not always the fault of the nonprofit, that can be just a snafu. And my hope is that it doesn't become a time clock issue in terms of the budget for the city fund ends and then they're out of luck through no fault of their own, basically.
No, we're not gonna let that happen. That's being, right now, so that shouldn't be. So that, through that.
Okay, so that would, those specifics would be really helpful.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of one in particular that had real problems with, Department of Justice at the state level. Yeah. Local government, state level.
Sure.
Yeah. But we are handling all of those organizations now. What we are saying is May 1 instead of, usually is earlier than that, to get all of your information in. Still not, yeah, but that's what we're saying.
Did everybody hear that?
Sorry, one more question, and sorry, going back to the Waterfront District, if I may. Wondering if there's any way we could get banners, I know you said end of June, but if there's any way by June 19th or Juneteenth.
Well, we're certainly hoping, you know, it kicked off, it will depend a little bit on permitting and our vendor schedules. But we're hoping to be able to.
There's actually going to be an event that is around Juneteenth that really the council member is going to be acknowledging and celebrating 1 year anniversary of this service. And our goal is to have those in place by then. And then number 1 and number 2, the council member would like to announce our Here Comes the Neighborhood opportunity as part of that program. They're working very hard to anything that the city is doing on behalf of the district, they want to bring it all together. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. That, no other questions.
Any other business to come before the executive committee before we adjourn? All right, with that, we adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much.